All right. So let's take a look at the problem here. I have a puck. This is the puck. That's a box. You can obviously tell the difference. Put a P there. And a B there. All right, so the puck is basically moving along. The problem starts at time A. The puck is moving to the right, and from B to C inclusive, it is hitting friction. So it's going to slow down. It's going to hit the box. Then the box will disintegrate. It's going to hit the wall, bounce back, and then come back. So at time K, the puck is in the same spot as it was at time C. There's friction in this region. Time L is at the same spot where it was at time B. M, that's at the same point as when it was at time A. And I'm defining my origin at the location of the puck at time D and J. And at time N, the problem stops, the puck stops also. So we're going to basically write out the answer in two different techniques. On the test, I give you 4 ways of expressing the answer. So my recommendation is, first off, establish where 0 is. At least for the first 3, establish 0, and then that sort of lends itself to more easily figuring out where the other, what's positive, what's negative. So first off, questions on what the problem is asking.
In between the brackets, what is that supposed to be? Is that supposed to be,
This right here?
yeah.
Oh, and here, that's a letter mu. We haven't gotten to that point, but the mu represents the coefficient of friction. And by saying that mu is not equal to 0, I'm saying that there's friction there. Mu not equal to 0, there exists friction.
So because friction exists, that means it's gonna slow it down like over time?
Yep, it will slow it down. Notice at point A, I put a parenthesis here. At point A, that means that A is not included, but N is included. And over here, B and C are included, K and L are included in the points where there is friction.
But between C and D, there's not friction, or between A and B, there's.
Between C, after C, and before D, there is absolutely nothing acting on it other than weight and normal forces. So there's acceleration is 0 in this region.
Wait, you said acceleration is 0 in that region?
In this region here.
So don't keep falling.
Because there's nothing to slow it down in that region.
So when you say A is not included, that means as soon as it passes A, the friction will start in that section?
Going this way?
Yes.
Going this way, as soon as it's past A, yeah, as soon as it's past that starting point, it's experiencing friction. Other questions about what the question is? And on your first test, the last question is going to be something of this nature. Okay, so let's start out with position. Where's position equal to 0? At what times?
D and J.
Yep. So put down D and J. Where is it positive? And I established to the right is positive.
E, F, G, H, and I.
What about in between?
Is that a B?
Pardon?
Is that a B?
There, or here? That B is for box. This is a box.
Oh.
This is the puck.
What's the side of that one?
Sorry, this is the last question?
Oh, no, I got it, I see it now.
Okay.
What were you asking for again?
So the first I asked, where's the position equal to 0? And it's at time D and J, because that's where I said time is equal to 0. Then I asked, where is it positive? And Ethan said E, F, G, H, I. And then I said, what about in between?
So E through I?
What about, so E through I, I'll buy that, but what about in between D and E?
That would also be positives.
Yeah, so as long as it's past this point right here, so the way I would write that is I don't want to include D. So I put a parenthesis here in D. And it ends up at J, but I'm not including J either. So the parenthesis means I'm not including that point, I'm including everything in between. And what about where is it negative? Oh, yes.
Why wouldn't you include D in J? Is that just because that's the origin point? And at that point, it's not moving positive or negative?
Right, D and J is like defined that at time D and time J, the clock is at the origin.
Okay.
So where's it negative?
Are you saying like when you hit the puck, it's going in the box and it's bouncing off the wall and flying back?
Yep.
Okay.
It'd be negative from A to D, not including D, and then,
All right, so A, I'm including A,
yeah,
not including D. And then,
from J to N, not including J, including N.
all right, so this is one way of representing it. Another way of doing it is, probably should not use one of those markers. I have my setup over here, and a grid would be nice. Oh, I guess I could have added a grid. Oh, well. But I know it's 0, so for my position, it is 0 at D and J. It's positive in between them. And it's negative outside. Okay, line that up right. This is expressing the exact same thing as over there. I do want to point out, unless I made a mistake setting up the problem, I cannot go from positive to negative, or vice versa, without going through 0. All right. Questions on position?
On the test, do we have to write our answer out in both those ways?
No,
Like,
I give you 4 formats and I say pick one. Some students are adventurous and will do more than one, and they don't always actually agree with each other.
Which one would you take if they didn't agree with each other?
It depends upon my mood. I will do some sort of, I think the last time I averaged whatever the score was for both of them. I think there are other times I've done whatever the first one was. So, as a general rule, don't do that. Unless you just like writing. All right. So, displacement. Where is displacement equal to 0? Where is it positive?
Anything past A, or before M?
And where is it negative?
After M?
So A to, or N to, and A, but not including A and N.
So not including A?
Yeah.
All right, A is not included here. I'm not putting A over here because A is the way the alphabet works, the way I'm using the alphabet here, is chronological. So time M is after time A. It doesn't get into the negative region until after time M. So over here, we add 0 at A, and let's highlight the zeros. And M. then it was negative after that and positive. And that's a plus sign right there. Honest, really is. Questions about displacement? All right, so what happens if you get into a test and suddenly you go, wait a second, position, displacement, I can't remember which is which. Why don't I just put down the same answer for both of them? And if you do that, it becomes incredibly obvious that you have no idea about one of them. So if you have identical answers here, actually, if you have identical answers between any two of them, I take one of them and it's just no credit. There's no partial credit for identical answers across the board. There has to be some difference between them. Now, when we actually start working problems analytically and we're dealing with numbers, you know, it's possible that they might be the same thing, but I will tell you on this problem, the plus minus zero problem, they will not be the same thing. Actually, when will displacement and position be the exact same?
If the starting point is 0.
Yes. All right, velocity. Where is velocity 0?
What's the question?
Where is the velocity 0?
D and J.
Pardon?
A
D
and M.
and J.
D and J?
Yeah.
No.
A and M.
Is it A? No, it's already moving. At A, the puck is already moving to the right.
Oh.
Is between A and B and C and J? Or C and K? And then
No.
also L and M?
Is it H and F?
All right, from the context of the problem, all right, perhaps it's easier. When is the velocity positive?
From A and M over.
From A over. Again, this is time. It's starting here, and then these letters are for the time it's coming back. So from A to where is it positive?
G.
F.
All right, so we got this thing going on over here somewhere. So it's positive along here. So it's positive there.
That's negative. You're writing it in the.
Thank you. At F, G, and H, some people have difficulty picturing this because you can't read my mind. What is it with people today? All right. So the puck is moving along right here. It hits the wall. When it first hits the wall, there's a little bit of flexing, and then it gets to a certain point, and then it bounces back. That's what's happening. So that first contact is F, G, H is the last contact as the puck moves backwards.
So H is the backwards contact, like backwards.
Yeah, at H, it's coming off the wall. It's the last moment of touching the wall as it's coming back.
So is it A through G?
A through F, and then it's 0 at G.
It would be A through G.
Not including
Right.
Okay.
And G is the point where it turns around. Turn it around, in a one-dimensional problem, if it turns around, it has to stop. And there's one other point where it stopped.
N.
Yeah. And it could be a matter that you can't read my handwriting. Time puck stops. So, yeah. And so it's negative. Well, hopefully, everything that's left over. So over here, for velocity, we can go for the typical stunning visual effects. Line there, so velocity was 0 at G. And and then it was negative. And positive. So. The 3/4 of the problem done. Now the tricky one. Questions here before we do acceleration? And let's do acceleration. So at what points is the velocity going to change?
Where there's friction.
Okay, so we'll have velocity change in this region here. Where else?
In the other region and then.
Okay, so here and here, we have friction. Where else will the velocity change?
At G, when it hits the wall?
Yeah, and actually, it first touches the wall at F, so it's gonna have some change here,
Okay.
The box.
and that's the other point in here. Now, I will say that it hits the box, and I think I just got lazy in my writing. In my mind, it hits the box disintegrates. So it first touches the box, it last touches the box, and then on the trip back, it's not touching the box. All right, so from B to C, is this positive acceleration or negative acceleration?
Negative.
All right, so we've got B to C. What about from A to B?
Zero.
It's zero.
Zero.
Zero is constant.
The velocity is constant, so it is zero along here. There's nothing slowing it down or speeding it up. We're changing its direction. So it's zero from A to B, not including B.
But also C through K, right?
It's zero C through K?
Oh, wait, never mind. 'Cause
All right,
there's
let's
other
take one
stuff.
step at a time. All right, then from C to D,
Zero.
Zero.
so not including C, and not including D. From D to E,
Negative.
E to F.
Zero.
All right, so not including E. And to know whether it includes that time or not depends on, is it touching, is it the last moment of not touching or the first moment of touching? And F is the first time it touches the wall. So F, it's already getting that additional force. So EF, F is not included. What about from F to G?
Positive.
Negative.
It's negative. What about G to H?
Positive.
Why?
Because it stops at G,
Yeah.
and then the
Stop
wall
at G.
bounces it back and then starts moving again,
Yeah.
speeding up.
So,
The acceleration is positive because the speed is increasing over.
we're talking vector acceleration here.
No, it was negative,
Why is it negative?
because it's going back this way.
And
So,
all right, if I'm touching a wall here, which way is the wall exerting a force on me? Yeah, the wall is pushing me that way. I'm pushing on the wall that way, the wall's pushing on me this way. So when this hits the wall, which way is the wall pushing on the puck? Yeah, that does not change anywhere in here. The wall is pushing on the puck that way. And the first part is causing it to slow down, the second part it causes it to speed up. So from F to H, it is negative. And I know that the common idea of acceleration is positive, speeding up, and acceleration negative, slowing down. That's a common misconception. When you're talking about vector acceleration, you need to break yourself of that. All right, then it starts cruising back. At what point does it start to experience some net outside force?
K,
Box disintegrates.
K to L.
Yeah, at this point, so the box isn't there anymore.